So I got a Corvette. Woo! You guys are looking at it. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm wanting to get another one, and I have come across some issues that, honestly, as a buyer or seller, you guys should probably... Oh, check this out. I got a new phone, so... Bam! I can look at the whole car. So anyway... So I've been looking for another C4, as you guys are aware, because I've been telling you guys for a few months that I've been looking for another C4. Now, the reason why I'm wanting another C4 is not because I'm in love with the platform. I'm not in love with... I'm in love with this car. I love this car, right? I'm only a couple of things away from getting the car done to where I want it, right? So I'm probably gonna, need something else to work on to satisfy my curiosities. I'm still working on my RX-7. There's a few things I need to do with that, but that's gonna have a different purpose than the other Corvette that I want to get. But anyway, my journey at getting another C4 has actually led me down a road that is both frustrating and, it gives me some insight if I wanted to sell a car of my own. But it's more frustrating than anything, because when you go to sell a car, you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, because you don't want to leave any money on the table. Basically, if you've got the ability to put new tires on it, or if you have some burnout lights, or you have low coolant, or the oil needs to be changed, you want to, top off your fluids, make sure this stuff is top notch and ready to go. That way, when somebody comes to look at the car, they're not popping the radiator cap and going, "Hey, you ain't got any coolant in here, Chancho." So basically, you look at a Corvette, C4 Corvette in particular, basically what you're going to come across is a slew of really nice base model C4s, right? You're going to find every now and again a ZR1 or an LT4 car or a Grand Sport. Every now and again they'll pop up, and, there'll be something that you want to, invest in. LT4, not so much as a ZR1, but definitely something that's a little bit more unique. It's a little on the unique side of things, where you have to know what it is in order to appreciate it. So when people see this car, the fact that I have it looking more like a Grand Sport gives them the idea that, the impression that, hey, this car is a little bit more different than your run-of-the-mill C4. So I've compiled a little list of things that, as a buyer, you should probably look for, and as a seller, you may want to pay attention to as well. Let's, just for the sake of argument, let's say the standard excellent to good usable C4 Corvette that you can get in and drive across the country is going to cost you about $15,000. That means it needs nothing. You get in it, turn the key, you can drive it anywhere. That's not saying something that has 20,000 miles on it that looks immaculate. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, maybe you need to, top the gas tank off, and, or it's getting close to an oil change, something like that. It's usable. You can get in it and drive it. You don't have to worry about any sort of phantom issues, because, with all due respects, there's been no deferred maintenance. And what is deferred maintenance? Basically, deferred maintenance is something that it's a good way to say, hey, this thing probably hasn't had enough oil changes, or hey, this thing has worn tires, or it's got something else, wrong that should have been fixed a while ago, but instead the owner or the previous owner has procrastinated on fixing it, or it's changed a couple hands by the time you're looking at it, and you're ending up, dealing with the situation. So assuming that around, and the reason why I didn't pick the 15,000 at random, I picked 15,000 because a good runner, good driver, a good looking car, something you can take to a car show and be proud of, is around 15,000. Regardless of whether it's a base LT4 or it's nothing molested on it, base model coupe or convertible, right? You get into the weeds when you start getting into lower mileage cars. With all due respects, if you're looking to get one of these to drive it around, I'd tend to avoid the lower mile cars. But then there again, you get up in the 90,000 miles to 120,000 miles. There's a pile of maintenance. If you don't get on it and stay on it, it can easily outrun the cost of the car. So let's go over a few things that I look at when I look at these cars. Now, the particular car that I'm looking for, it doesn't have to run great. It doesn't have to drive great. All it has to do is look good, right? So, from the regards of, paint and body, it doesn't matter what you're looking for, okay? I'm looking for something that's awesome, paint and body wise, that is similar enough to this where I don't have to really, mess with it. I don't have to do any fiberglass work. Maybe I got to run a buffer over it. No big deal, right? Now, for you, when you look at these cars, or if you're getting ready to sell your car, you want to make sure the first thing you look at is, how does this thing look? How does it look from the street perspective? How does it look from your perspective walking up to it? Now, keep in mind, when we're back here looking at the car, this thing looks great. But you get up close and you start looking at imperfections. You see old patch jobs, rock chips and stuff. The car starts to show its patina, right? Like, stuff like this. You want to look for stuff like this. Now, what? I'm looking all over the place, Just because you're walking up to a car to look at it doesn't mean you need to pat the previous owner on the back. You're looking to buy something for what it is worth, not what they think it's worth, okay? So, keeping that in mind, you start out with about $15,000 car. Now, 2025, I've been paying attention to the market enough to where $15,000 is a reasonable price for a good runner, okay? So I'm not making this number up pretty much across the board. I mean, you get older than 88, and I would say, maybe 13 for the high. But I've seen him go for 18 and stuff like that. But we're just calling it 15, right? So, paint and body stuff, that can easily run you at around $3,000 pretty quick. Depending on if it's like a cracked fender or the hood's got some damage. Now, something to keep in mind is if you have a situation where you have cracked paint on a bumper, you're probably going to get to a point where you're going to lose the paint on that bumper. Especially, like if you're washing it or something, you get to a point where you're pressure washing it, the paint will start to break off, and, the temperature gradients on plastic bumpers or rubber bumpers that that have paint on them is very interesting. It gets really, really complex, complicated really fast. So paint and body is definitely something you want to take serious. If that's something like for me, for example, stuff like this doesn't bother me. Old rock chips don't bother me. That's the car's used, right? But from what you're looking at, you're probably gonna have some rock chips because it's a driver, right? So that right there, take your $15,000, knock $3,000 off of it, right? The next thing you want to look at, obviously, is your tires. If you don't have good tires, you can't take the car on a drive. I've seen tires that are completely rock hard. It took me a few looking at all of them to find a car that had pretty decent tires. And when I got this car, it had a good set of rear tires and junk front tires, which is what it is. So anyway, that can cost you around $2,000 or more for a set of tires. Don't be like, if you see that the tires are old, or the tire, I mean, don't let somebody BS you, you know? It's like, even you as the seller, it takes a special kind of person to take tires, okay? Something that can easily blow out and cause somebody to get into an accident and die. It takes a special kind of messed up in the head to send somebody off telling them, maybe they're not as educated as you, but you have to know that dry rotted tires are basically rolling around on hand grenades. I'd be like, hey, you may want to get these tires changed like ASAP, you know, and the price reflects the tires. You know what I'm saying? So basically, one of your biggest offenders for deferred maintenance on these cars is going to be tires. So just make sure you're checking out your tires. Knock another $2,000 off if you got bad tires. Now, something else that people don't really pay attention to is your lights. You know, I put that in your paint and body, you know, as far as like your lights working and everything. Not necessarily the lights working, but stuff like this. You see that? I got a crack in the lens. Both of my marker lenses on the front of the cars are broken. Eventually I'll get them fixed, but, you know, they're not causing me any drivability issues yet. So I'm not really concerned about it. But anyway, you want to make sure you're looking around at stuff like that, because here's the thing. If you're going to spend top dollar on a car, these things need to be, you need to make sure that these things are in working order, because the moment you start turning a wrench, the moment you start putting things on the car, the cost of the car, the value of the car, you've now exceeded the price of it. So I'm not going to spend $15,000 on something that needs a door, right? I'm not going to spend $15,000 on something that has a bent rim, right? So keep in mind, look at all that stuff, right? And, you know, some of that stuff can cost a few $100. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing that you want to look at is, this isn't in really any particular order. You come in here, you look at your interior, and you just gaze at everything and just make sure you take inventory on things that might be broken or missing. Some of the biggest offenders are going to be your seats. You know, if they're worn out or if they've got cigarette burns or whatever. Carpet can be really expensive in these cars, especially if you get in and it smells musty. That's one thing that I've noticed in a lot of these cars, especially if they've sat out any point in time. These things get musty because the windows tend to leak right here, or they leak right down in here. And, you know, depending on what you got, you want to pop the bottom of the seat pad off if the owner will let you. And kind of scope that out. Make sure your dash isn't all messed up and curled up. Another thing, let's move on to the engine, the drivetrain. The engine and drivetrain, you can have something that looks great, looks fantastic. The first thing you don't want to do is come up to a car that's already warm. You know, you put your hand on things, you know, you shake things around, you know, get in there. That's probably going to be your car. If, you know, don't go, oh, well, I'm just going to look at it. You know, I'm not going to touch anything. Can I do that? You want to buy this car, right? You want to make this your own. You want to build memories with this car. You want to make sure that you are actually putting money into something that you're not going to be buried financially in. Get in there and look it over. Look at the coolant. Look at the oil. I'd almost rather see old oil in something like this than if I see a fresh oil change. Now, here's a really neat thing. When I got this car originally, let me show you something here. This right here is oil, caked in there, nasty sludge and everything. But anyway, when I got this car originally, I had, You look in there, you don't see any sludge or grime on that aluminum, right? The cool thing about that is, it's taken a regular oil change interval. I'm back to regular oil change intervals, but it's taken me several oil changes to get to that point. Changing it more frequently. There was sludge in there, right? The car runs a lot better. It's happier. But anyway, that right there is a good way to check to see if there's been any deferred maintenance. Now, before me, this car's had 9 owners. So, chances are, things are, not going to be what they seem. I imagine some of those previous owners changed all the fluid and all the everything. And, just kind of dealt with it. But I know that when I got the car, every fluid in it was, pretty fresh. Something that alarmed me was when I had my differential go down on me. When I had checked and done all my regular services, I checked and I replaced the differential fluid, and the differential fluid was clean. It looked really good. However, when I took the seals out and everything, you could see where the old previous flushes had not completely, gotten out all the old gunk and the oil and nastiness, and you could see where the metal shavings were. So it was something that, either somebody tried masking the issue or it had been changed 9 times, within the 96,000 miles that I got the car. So, yeah. So anyway, you want to make sure that you're looking this stuff over. You want to make sure that your transmission's fine. If it's in a garage, when you go to look at it, when you do back out or, drive out, pull out, check to see if there are marks from where the tires were. And if there are marks from where the tires were, then you're going to want to look and make sure that there aren't any spots on the ground that indicate any sort of old leaks anywhere where any of the components might have been. Now, that's all fine and well, but, sometimes people, they keep their stuff pretty clean. They make sure the garage floor is pretty clean. So you might not have a situation where you're going to run into something like that. Now, another thing you want to do is you want to kind of make sure you run around, test all the gizmos, make sure your lights, your blinkers, and everything work. And then, once you've established all that stuff works, start the car up, see if it runs. If it's got an engine light, make sure you got some sort of code reader, or just take it up to AutoZone, have them pull the codes. Another thing, just drive it around. Drive it around, make sure that, everything functions properly. Another thing, you want to check your battery before you even start out. Because I'll tell you one thing, I'd be really annoyed if I bought a brand new car to me and I spent top dollar to only put a battery in it and pull the engine apart because I didn't look at it thoroughly. Anyway, as far as, all of that's concerned, engine problems, that can be at around $1,000 a pop. Let's say the air conditioner goes out. I know a lot of them places will, see you coming, and they'll be like, no, $600-800, just to recharge the refrigerant, and it just gets really, really expensive. So, paint body, you figure, we'll just recap a little bit. Paint and body, around $3,000. Interior, you can run up to around $2,000 for major components, just major components. Seats, the sport seats, them get pretty close to $2,000 just on their own there. And if you got a broken door panel you're replacing, that right there can be pretty nerve-wracking in and of itself. Them things they're between a couple $100 new or used all the way up to about $800 new, or new old stock or something. See here, if you've got a clear top and the clear top is any sort of broken, whether it's like hazed or something, or there's there's an issue with the with the lens being adhered to the top, the frame. That's about $600, and that's not including shipping. So, yeah, stuff is really going to add up here. Engine problems, any sort of engine problems, you can get up to $1,000 super quick. Transmission, any sort of like catalytic converters, those aren't cheap. 99% of the time, you're not going to be doing the maintenance yourself. So these are things you need to really think about before you even step into this. Coolant, if you pop that radiator cap and the coolant is missing, there's a chance that there's a leak or it's burning it off. If there's not a leak, it's probably burning it off. So definitely pull the dipstick and make sure that there isn't anything going on there. Not that there would be, not that you could really say that there could be, but at the end of the day, check engine light. That could be a miss from a blown head gasket, because once it warms up, gets the operating temperature, then it starts pulling coolant in through the head gasket. That could be bad, right, guys? That could be really bad. Electronics, you can get to the point where that stuff can cost you thousands of dollars as well. Your fluids, changing your fluids and everything, you can get about, if you have somebody do it, you can get about $600 in on the fluids, easy. But the thing is, if you're paying top dollar for something, let's say $15,000 is the actual market cap. $15,000, you shouldn't be putting anything into this car as far as expendables, tires, or nothing. That thing should be ready to go, right? Now, the thing that really annoys me is a lot of you guys as owners leave all of this money on the table, right? So you basically take a $15,000 car. Let's say, okay, let me give you an example of a car that I just looked at. All right, it was a '96. I'm not throwing anybody under the bus here, but I actually may end up getting the car if it's on the market long enough. But in my local area, C4s tend to stay on the market for a while. Cars in the $7,000 price range typically don't sell. And if they do, they're pretty clean. The 15,000 number I got from like watching stuff sitting on Marketplace and other sources, and then they sell. I'm just kind of basically averaging. You get some outliers that are 18,000 that sell, but you don't know what happened off camera, basically. So basically this car I looked at, walking up to the car looked pretty okay. It had some paint issues. From looking at it right off the bat, it had paint issues. Now, when I looked at the front, one side of the bumper was cracked, the paint was, and then the hood underneath one of the headlights had a stress crack underneath about 6 inches long. Walking around the rest of the car looked pretty okay, but it did not have the top on it. Well, the top was in the back, and it was the clear top. It's a one-top car. It looked like an old headlight lens. The plastic lenses when they get yellow and faded and they get that haze on them. It looked like that, and the finish was starting to flake off. Now, that wasn't the only thing that was wrong with the lens. If I tried to recondition the lens, it would have been all for naught because the lens itself was cracked in multiple places. Would it have leaked? I don't know. I'm not sure, but it was cracked. It was cracked in several places, and it's regardless, new lens at the very least, and it's often easier just to replace the top altogether. Now, that being said, the top hadn't been on the car for years, and evidently so, because the interior was really, really rough. Okay, it wasn't rough, and everything needed to be replaced. There's just so much dirt in this car. My car is dirty, I feel, and you can see shiny. You guys know my car's not usually that dirty. This is about This is about the dirtiest my car usually gets until winter, then when I clean it, right? But anyway, another thing that was wrong, the antenna was broken off. Let's see here. Walking forward, I pulled the radiator cap. Or I'm sorry, the surge tank, and then the radiator cap up here. I pulled that cap. There was nothing. It was bone dry. Had not had coolant in it for a long time. And then the tank up here, there was nothing in there. There was coolant in it, but not much. It was just enough to gurgle the lines when you did everything. But anyway, the headlight motors, those needed the bushings replaced. So, you did the thing, you flipped them on and then they go and just jump around all over. So chances are they probably just need the pellets replaced. I've got them, but, I don't know. The bumper, the hood was cracked, but it wasn't really bad. It wasn't like falling off cracked. You'd probably not mess with it and it probably wouldn't do anything. They had scratches on the fenders, the lower fenders, down to the point where it was down to the white plastic. The driver's side door panel was falling off. The windows on both sides, the track, the little clip on the front that keeps the window from rocking to keep it from damaging the paint back here, that was bad too. It had a check engine light on it, after it got started up. Not sure what was going on. Didn't run rough or anything, but there could be an issue there. But anyway, the owner said that you're gonna love this. The owner said that the check engine light was on because the AC pump for the air conditioner was bad and locked up. Well, it wasn't locked up, but whatever's going on with the car. But anyway, dude said he had the car for 7 years. So, yeah. Another thing I'm forgetting. When I went to go open the hood latch was not attached to the bottom trim, the panel there underneath the dash. It's bolted to the latch is bolted up in there. Anyway, it was not bolted in, and I went to reach in there to pop the hood, and I was like, hey. So I told the owner, I was like, I'll let you mess with that. I don't know what's going on there. And the owner reached in, popped it right away, which tells me that the owner is familiar with that problem and just deals with it, right? In addition to this, the tires were so bald, I'm surprised they weren't showing cord yet. They were so bald, it wasn't even funny. Yeah, but anyway, other than that, the paint, I'd say, was a 30-footer. Could it be reconditioned? Yeah. It would probably make a nice car after a little while. But at the same time, the seats are in about as good a condition as mine. The deep cleaning of the interior, God only knows if it was rained in several times or not. You need a top. You need to fix the hood latch deal. The AC doesn't work. I understand most people take the top off of these, but I'll tell you, I don't care. If it's hot, I put that top on. And why do I do that? Because, it has air conditioner for a reason. I fixed the air conditioning in this for a reason. I want this car to work properly for a reason. And anyway. But anyway, other than that, the car looked pretty nice until I started looking at it, which, is what it is. But it's a nothing special car. It's optioned out about the same as mine, except it's an automatic. And, I didn't even want to say that because there's a few things that this has that one didn't. But, I digress. It isn't the end of the world. So, in closing, I just wanted to kind of tell you guys this stuff, just because as a buyer, I'm kind of annoyed that I keep coming across the same situation with Corvette owners. It's just not easy dealing with Corvette owners because they want to tell you how great their car is. But they just don't understand that you're leaving money on the table when you don't change the tires, or at least maintain the thing. When you run the thing to the point where your tires are bald, and I've looked at several now that have, it runs and drives great. The air conditioner is messed up. Pulleys are doing this as the car's running, and then you go to check the bearing, wiggle them after the car's off, and the bearings are just sloshing around in the power steering pump. It's just like, whoa, this is absolutely crazy. And it's guys, if you want to give your car away, the best way to do it is to let it rot in the ground. Okay, that's just the bottom line here, right? If you want to give your car away, don't fix it, just drive it until it falls apart. The next guy will not give you what you think your car is worth. Now, as a buyer, I would absolutely encourage until the cows come home that just because that person wants top dollar for their car doesn't mean anything. You can walk away. There are plenty of these cars, and there are plenty of these things being sold for reasonable prices. Okay, if it is a parts car, which it doesn't take much for, there are people that part these things out that would be, to me or somebody else that, can work on them, that would be, frankly, good looking cars to have and wouldn't need much, right? There's not much that can go wrong with these. When we think of a car that's needing a junkyard or, needing to be parted out, we think, it's got rust holes and everything like that, where these things right here, where they end up getting you is in interior components, paint issues, engine, transmission, something major goes wrong. Let's just face it. The engine goes bad. This is an LT4. That's a $4,000 motor, okay? That's half the price of so it's about half the price of this car. Not this car, but a regular C4. But anyway, yeah, a $4,000 motor. Yeah. Honestly, if anything goes wrong with the car, I'm probably going to just put an LT1 in it and be done with it. The car won't know the difference, right? It will, but it won't. But, regardless. So anyway, guys, that being said, let's just say you walked up on a situation where somebody's wanting $8,000-$10,000 for a car, as I just described, with all the things that were messed up. I'd, honestly tell them for maybe $5,000. I wouldn't, if I suspected that they wouldn't take that, then I wouldn't even entertain offering them anything. I'd just be like, hey, I got some more cars to look at. I'll let you know. But yeah. So just because these things don't usually rust out, does not mean that these things needing to be junked is going to be on the same level. Some people would just be like, oh man, that thing looks great, why would you do that? Well, frankly, if it's mechanically junk, then in a lot of cases engine transmission's not going to be feasible, right? So yeah. So anyway, guys, it's a little bit of a long one. Basically gonna title this how to make your $20,000 car a $3,000 car. Basically. Just when you're walking into this, guys, make sure that you have the mindset that this is going to be something you're going to buy. And at this point, these are about as low as they're going to get. So if you buy one and it is at the highest end of the price spectrum, you may be okay in a few years, but you definitely don't want to be like some of these guys that bought these cars brand new and then sat on them until they're 90 and they still aren't going to see a decent return on them. Because let's face it, let's be 100% realistic here. Even at the high end of, like, let's say $20,000, these cars were $40,000, $50,000 new. yeah, that's still losing a lot of money. And you had to wait how long to do that? I mean, I hate to say it, but casinos in some regards have better returns on investment than this. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. So I got a Corvette, and you're looking at it. Hopefully, we're going to see another one in the family here soon. So anyway, guys, catch you in the next one. Bye.